think this is the first movie where you should be required to show your passport because we're going all over the place. Den of Thieves 2. We're back, baby. 6 years after the first movie, we're back. Nick's still on the hunt for Donnie for getting one over on him and robbing the Federal Reserve, but not knowing how he robbed the Federal Reserve because the Federal Reserve says they haven't been robbed. So he's trying to figure out how did he do this. This obsession leads to him going all the way to Europe to find this man. You know, him looking at Donnie's life and his life, you know, his wife has left him. He can't see his kids. He's alone. He's living in his car. His life is shambles. And he's looking at Donnie like, bro, you're a millionaire, robber. You're jet setting, going from country to country, living life. Hey man, let me get in on that and let me be a part of this den of thieves. I've been tired of this house of law, and I liked it for the most part of it. I think it's a worser version, but also a better version of the movie that came before it. I originally haven't watched Den of Thieves before a couple of days before watching this movie because I don't know. I looked at Den of Thieves. I thought it would be like a low budget, terrible, cheesy action movie with nothing really to offer. And I was pleasantly surprised that it had a lot to offer. The action scenes in Den of Thieves is probably some of the best action you will see. It's actually really great action in that movie, especially how it starts and ends. Very, a lot of tension. Keeps you engaged and on the edge of your seat while you're watching it. And they only come in like at the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie. So there's not like a lot of action scenes in between to keep you all that invested. You don't really feel any tension between any characters or when things happen. And that comes in the problem in Den of Thieves 2. I kind of want to get all the negatives out the way before I get into the positives of everything. It's a lot of these moments where they're trying to create more villains to make the story go longer and seem bigger. And it sort of slows down and messes up the pacing because I think even the movie understands that it has a lot of fat on it, that it just cut out things that you think, okay, these are things we actually need to develop more. Like there's a scene between after a night out and they get high and they eat food. Donnie, played by O'Shea Jackson Jr. or Ice Cube Jr. and Gerard Butler's character Nick have a little conversation, getting to know each other, and you kind of feel for them. They both tell you their origin stories about how they came into be who they are now. And they show that they both have similar origin stories, but both led down different paths due to seeing the unfairness in life. Then they get caught up with these Russian mafias because of a diamond that they stole at the beginning of the movie that really starts the movie, and that is a really good action scene. They tell them that, hey, get this diamond back or else we're gonna kill you. They get like thrown out into the middle of the ocean. They swim their way back in the shore. Gerard Butler's character and Ice Cube's Jr. character has a little bit of a spat, and you think they are going to split up for the rest of the movie, or at least for a little bit, because Gerard Butler tells him, I didn't know you got yourself in this whole thing with the mafia. I'm not dealing with none of this. And they have a fight and they split up. And then the next scene, just to like keep the story going, in the next scene, he just calls him up and is like, yeah, all right, guys, let's do this. And I'm like, what? Y'all just had a whole, literally, the scene just before this, you guys just split up. You just fought. They made a whole scene about it, and they never even really resolved this thing that was happening because this dude puts in so many subplots in so many extra plots that even when you get into the character development and you're starting to learn about your characters, they stop right there and they say, hey, we added like 5 more plots in this, so we can't develop no more of these characters. We just added like 3 more plots to keep the story going, so we gotta go handle those now. And that is the ultimate flaw in both of these movies. They spend so much time you getting to learn about our characters that don't develop to nothing. They just get thrown to the wayside because hey, you gotta keep moving. We gotta we got to do this hostage thing, or we gotta break into this vault, or rob this bank. This movie, they're robbing the Diamond District. L.J. Jackson Jr. as an actor in both of these movies also are really good. My only problem with him is that, at least in the second one, in the first movie, he plays more to his type. That he's used to playing, a little bit more of an oddball, funny guy, a little bit more sense of humor and personality behind him. In the second movie, he is extremely serious and trying to be badass. Do you remember when his father was going through his action movie period during the early 2000s, where you watch Friday After Next, and you like, okay, Ice Cube is really good at playing like the straight man in comedy. He's really good at playing comedy characters and bringing laughs. But then whenever he goes into an action movie or a suspense movie, he just puts on like this mean mugging face, and he says every single line in a very stilted and stiff way. And that's sort of the same things happening here in this movie. In this movie, he has to be a little bit more serious. He's trying to put on all these accents that just not working. He's switching accents in between scenes. Like, at one moment, he'll put on a British accent just out of nowhere, even though he's supposed to be putting on a French accent, even though he's supposed to be putting on like a African accent. His accents are fluctuating, and I mean, like, it's not his real accent, even in the universe that he lives in within the movie. But I feel like people who are from these actual places would look at him, or at least listen to the way he pronounces such things, and be like, "Are you American putting on a fake accent?" There's no way that he's just making this many bad accents changes, and no one that he's talking to calls him out on it. Gerard Butler, really good in this movie as well. He's good in both movies. I like his characters in both movies. He's sarcastic. He's funny. He's entertaining. He's badass. He has a very threatening presence about him, even though he's technically the good guy in both movies, which kind of makes for a very weird experience while you're watching it, because he seems just as evil as the quote-unquote bad guys are, and it makes you want to root for the bad guys more than you want to root for Gerard Butler to catch him, because the way he talks to people, the way he acts towards people, it's just very asshole-ish. The last third act of both of these movies are fantastic. When the heist starts in both of these movies, they're great. They're awesome times to watch. Fantastic to look at and to bear witness to. Very high intention, okay? Very fantastic, very great. And it really does make you forget about all the boring shit in between. Both of these movies, I don't think they're movie theater movies. I think they're more in-home movies. Something, movies that you can sort of clock out towards that middle end and then come back in towards the end to be entertained by. Because that big middle portion where it's just a lot of shit happening that you don't really care about, and the writing isn't as great, you're really sitting there bored for the most part, just going, okay, I don't care about none of these characters, what they're going on. There's a chase scene in this movie and a gunfight in a tunnel in this movie that is, oh my god. Even though I said these are more better at home movies, I ain't gonna lie. I think those are movies that I think that tunnel chase scene gunfight at the end of this movie, I think it's worth it. I ain't gonna hold you. That shit, the sound design, the way it's filmed, I think it's so great. It's worth being in a theater just to hear the cracking of the guns in how beautiful it looks while it's going on. It is well worth it. I don't think the action scene, the end action scene in the first movie is that worth it. I do think that is a great at home watch at the luxury of in the comfortability of your own home type movie. This one with this action scene towards the end, I think it's worth going to the movie theater to see it. So I would recommend Den of Thieves 2 at the movie theaters. But even if I saw Den of Thieves 1 in the movie theaters, I wouldn't recommend it. But I would recommend Den of Thieves 2. Hands down, you got to see that chase scene. It's absolute cinema. All in all, man, I think this is a pretty fun movie. I think both movies are pretty fun, just completely underdeveloped when it comes to the writing. But action-wise, suspense-wise, great for your buck and your dollar. If I was to give a rating to Den of Thieves 2, I would give it about a 6.5. And if I was to give a rating to Den of Thieves 1, I would give it about a 7. I think they're right around there. The only reason it goes down 0.5 for me is because it is just a lot more time where there is no action and it's just the boring, discombobulated, convoluted writing that you have to sit through. Thank you for watching. If you agree with this review, go ahead and leave a like because you already subscribed. That's why you're here. That's why you agree. You used to be in here by now. If you disagree, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? I say a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying a lot of different things. So maybe we didn't agree on this one, but maybe the next time we will agree. And if you're new here, your first time here at all, why don't you give me a like and subscribe? Because you know what? I agree. I like what you guys going on here, and I want to see more of this good shit. So like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. And as always, good and bye.